What's up? What's up?
Hey, we are back.
Welcome to the preview of the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa.
We're back at Spa. Yes. Love Spa.
So excited.
It's my favorite.
It is possibly, arguably, the greatest track ever built.
I don't think there's any
humble
possibly
opinion.
about that. I think that's a definitive. It is the best. Is, always will be, maybe. For now, it's the best. So, first and foremost,
What up, Twan?
appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Twan, what's up, man? Good to see you. If y'all haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button there. That'll help us out. And down at the bottom left there, you'll see a QR code. That'll take you to our link tree. And that'll give you the link to the website where you can find the podcast on all its platforms. It'll give you the link to our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So feel free to use that and find us, follow us, shoot us a DM, whatever. I think Dwan, you're right. They might have something to say about that. I'll argue that till I'm blue in the face.
Well, I mean, Mother Russia's not participating this year. So
motherland.
Look, man, I'm stoked. I can't wait. Love this track. It's got everything in it. It's got speed. It's got technical sections, low speed corners, insanely fast corners, and long straights and short bursts. I mean, what more could you want?
Right.
And it just flows beautifully.
Oh, my God, does it, man. So let's do a little Spa overview, a little Spa 101 for anybody joining us that's new to F1 or joining us or listening to this on the podcast. You'll kind of miss out on this since I'm going to have a picture up here, but go find the live stream link and you can fill yourself in on it. So Spa is a 7 kilometer, which for those of us that are not across the pond, that have no clue how long that is, that's 4.34 miles. It's got 20 turns. And let's see, here is a track map. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this is because Spa has some very, very iconic turn names that we'll use that, anytime you're watching the race, listening to anything, they're going to use a lot of these turn names. And just to kind of go over, give you a little visual of what turns those are. So the hairpin, turn number 1, you'll hear a lot about that is, it's kind of hard to read, it appears, La Source. Go down, and then you hit the famous Eau Rouge and Raidillon, which is generally confused by being labeled all as Eau Rouge. But Eau Rouge is actually just down at the bottom, which is that little, it's really not even a turn, but it's that little left right down there. And then Raidillon is the right left going back up the hill. You'll hear a lot about Lacombe, which is down there after the straight, that little right, left, right section. One of the confusing ones
one of the most legendary passes in F1 happened there.
Yes.
With Hakkinen over Schumacher around Zonta.
Yep, that was incredible. If you got some free time, go look up the Mika Hakkinen, Michael Schumacher 2000 Spa pass. It's insane. Beautifully executed.
Mm-hmm.
So you come
Back
through
in a
there.
time when flat through En Rouge and Radillon in a race was insane.
Yes. Yes.
It happened in
Typically, flat
qualifying, but
was
it didn't
just
really
on.
happen in a race.
Yeah, that was normally just a quali lap, and it was buckle up and hold on because we're going through this flat.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times what you'll see, so after that Lacombe section of turns, you get into, I believe it's just pronounced Brussels. But a lot of times you'll hear that, which I've got another picture where I don't think it labels it as such. No, it doesn't. But a lot of times you'll hear that referred to as Rivage. And then
So one little sidebar. This is kind of important because throughout the course of the weekend, that's how the announcers are going to refer to every corner is by their name.
Yes. Yeah, they're not going to use turn numbers. They're going to use these names. You know, it's kind of one of those things, man. The famous tracks, right? Those famous turns. That's all they get referred to as. Nobody could tell you what their turn number is or any of that. It's just the name.
Except for Kimi.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't know the names.
Yeah.
He says turn 6.
Right. Or either that or what was it? He just said the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll see Brussels and Rivage kind of interchanged. That next little left, a lot of people don't even know that that one actually has a name, but you might hear it referred to as Speaker's Corner, which is due to at one point in time the speaker's stand or speaker's house or whatever you want to call it. I guess back in the day, that's what they called where the announcers were. It used to be right there. So that one got the name Speakers. After that, there comes two different names. Again, you got Pouhon. I have no idea if that's how you actually pronounce it. Or you'll hear it as Double Gaucher. I'm hoping that was at least close, which I did actually find out that means double left. Kind of makes sense there.
Get Lee out here to check our French.
Yeah, right. And then you go into Le Fond. I think I got that one. Le Fond.
I don't know. I can't see it.
You can't read it. Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
I'm just too far away from the screen.
Let's see if I can. Here we go. We can. Nope, it didn't make it any bigger. All right. This probably works better if you're like watching on a TV, not on the little screens that we're looking at each other in.
Word.
And then, so after that, you go down into Campus, Stavelo, and then you come up this long straight into the wickedly fast Blanchiment. That's very
unreal,
very big name turn that you'll hear a lot. And then coming down to the end to what always has kind of bothered me, but you're going to hear it referred to as the bus stop chicane. Mm-hmm. But that is not a bus stop chicane. It's just a chicane. It is not a bus stop. A bus stop is Daytona, Watkins Glen, like those style chicanes. Those are a bus stop, not this. But nonetheless, you're going to hear it referred to as the bus stop. And then you're back onto the front straight, which the pit, you'll notice the pit entry is right there in between the two. It's kind of right off of, like right outside of that second chicane turn. But that is kind of in a bit of a bad spot for somebody potentially, running nose to tail if somebody's ducking off into the pits to kind of throw somebody off pace.
It is such a strange spot. You'd think they'd have it before the chicane.
Or after. Well, yeah, I mean, you really can't do it.
It has to be. It has to be.
And then, so there is two pit lanes, honestly. And there's another pit entry after La Source. Mm-hmm. Because F1 uses...
It's the old pit entry. right?
Well,
Well, it's been used. It's the old pit exit. No, that's the current pit exit.
no, the current pit exit is down on the Kemmel Straight after Radial. Or yeah, it's
No,
technically after Radial.
no, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes. The pit exit goes past Eau Rouge and you exit past there. Go look it
I
up.
don't think that's correct.
I think it is. I know it is. Y'all watch this. He's about to learn. He's gonna say it.
Is that new?
No, it's not new. It's always been like that.
I don't think.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Has that
And
always?
so-
That has not all. It has not always been like that.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Has always been like that.
Nope.
Yep.
Where it put you out on the Camel Straight? No.
Yes.
Not when the
right
pit
at
road,
the very beginning of it. You've never come back. Maybe way back when they used to exit after La Source before Eau Rouge, but in any kind of recent times, they have not. Because F1 does not use the pit lane, the pit stalls on the front straight. They use the pit stalls after La Source going down to Eau Rouge. So you enter in the chicane and you have to go all the way around.
That's right, but they changed it. But it used to be the other side.
When
they used the old pit straight, the old pit box.
Yeah, but that probably hasn't been since like the 70s. I don't know,
dude.
It has not been in recent times.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's
hang on.
on.
No, we're not gonna move on yet. We're gonna relish in that.
Yeah, no, I see it now.
Right there.
I see it now. I see the picture now.
Right there. See that? Yep. Thank you, Corey.
But I'm telling you, the old one.
Yeah, the old one used to exit onto the track right after La Source, but that hasn't been used in decades in F1.
Not decades, but maybe decades.
Decades.
But you said never, so technically we're both right.
No.
Anyway, continue. Are you done with your recap of the track?
Yeah, more or less. I just kind of wanted to go through some of that.
Were you able to find that picture of the
I was not.
new grandstand?
I did look. No. So that's one of the other things.
I saw it on Facebook the other day. Somebody posted it, like actually took the picture and posted it to one of those groups.
Yeah. So Spa recently has undergone and is still going to be undergoing for a little while. I forget how many. It was like a 10-year kind of plan they had going on making some changes, not necessarily to the track layout or anything, just to runoff and gravel traps and that sort of thing. One of the things that they did prior to now, which kind of hurts, is the house that has always sat right there in Eau Rouge and Radion. They knocked it down, which, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of hurt, man. That was just one of those like historic landmarks of the track, right? They knocked that down. They expanded the runoff a little bit in that whole area, and I get it that it probably needed it. We've seen some crashes there. Antoine Hubert had his fatal crash there. There's, although that was actually up at the exit.
Further down.
That was further down. That was like at the beginning of the Kemmel Straight
and on the other side.
Yeah, that was track right. But there's been some crashes there, so I don't disagree that it probably needed it, but it's still one of those historic pieces of the track that they did away with. So we'll be seeing some more updates to the track in the coming years.
Hopefully we're still able to watch F1 cars on it.
Yeah. speaking of coming years, so there is still a bit up in the air as to is Spa going to see another year in F1. Nothing has been confirmed. It's really just been a lot of speculation and rumors because of the number of races that are on the calendar, or the set, they've set a number that it's not going to exceed. There is was it South Africa is in now. There's talks of China and Qatar coming back. And the fact that Spa does not have a contract yet for next year. Yet.
So from what
I
I've
think
seen,
honestly, if I am the people making this decision, multiple drivers have voiced their opinion, as well as the entire F1 community that would be distraught if Spa disappeared. But they've got to know how iconic, historic, how important Spa is to the calendar. Spa, Silverstone, Monza, Monaco, don't freaking touch them. Leave them alone.
I mean,
Y'all
look,
gotten rid of enough of the classics. Leave them
I
alone.
know there has to be a give and take, and I think that's part of the issue now is that some of these tracks have been so bullish in their unwillingness to change that F1's trying to flex their muscle a little bit and force them to kind of adapt. And I get that, but I think there's ways of going about it without having to threaten to look, bro, we just won't, we will actually not come here.
Yeah. Well, so I think you're right. I think it's a combination of that, but it's also a combination of that with the fact that a lot of these new tracks that are popping up are in these super wealthy areas that draw lots and lots and lots of money. Vegas, Miami, Abu Dhabi in recent years, China, Qatar, all these street circuits that are popping up everywhere.
Singapore.
Baku. Yeah. They all draw tons and tons of money. More so than what, as iconic as Spa is, they're going to draw more money. And a lot of it, unfortunately, just comes down to them just being a business and looking at what's going to make them the most money. But, even I want to say, I read something, I want to say Christian Horner said it. Because, Max has voiced his opinion, Seb has, Toto has, Christian Horner has. I want to say it was Christian that said, at some point you have to stop looking at what's going to bring the most money and look at the history or something to that effect. Like he brought up the fact that you have to keep the history. And I think that is 100% true.
I mean, dude, you're talking about 4 races at this point.
Yeah, because they've gotten rid of the rest of them.
Yeah, that people want to see stay.
Yeah.
Is that too much to ask?
No, it's
not.
And
he was even there's a couple spots in Monaco that you could slightly widen that would create overtaking opportunities. And there used to be overtaking opportunities. It's just that these cars have evolved and they've made these cars so damn big that it's become impossible.
Yep. It's become just a parade. But I don't care. You touch Monaco, I'm coming after somebody.
I don't know what that means, but maybe you're going to – that was a good one.
That was a good one.
You're going to write them a nasty email?
Exactly. Yep. It's about
so real quick, I am sipping on something new tonight. It's a Japanese whiskey, which I have tried quite a few of them. And I've never had one I didn't like, but they kind of just didn't really do it in terms of flavor for me. They've always been kind of light and bland and just kind of generally meh. But this one was recommended to me by Alex over at Hocus Pocus. which if you're in the area, go check them out because they're awesome.
Yeah, they are.
And
Multiple areas. You could be in Prairieville. You could be in Lake Charles.
If you're in Louisiana or Texas or Mississippi and you feel like taking a drive for some awesome bourbon selections.
Yep.
So this is the Nika, I guess is how you say it, coffee malt whiskey, which it's not infused with coffee flavor or anything like that. It's actually in a namesake for what's called a coffee still. That is the type of still that it's distilled in. And typically it's used to produce grain whiskey. And for whatever reason, the way they do this, I mean, I don't know how old it is. It doesn't have anything like that on it, but it is.
It does. It's just written in Japanese.
It's maybe so. It is significantly darker than any other Japanese whiskey that I've had. And it is fan-freaking-tastic. It's very different.
I've had the chance, and I didn't get it. I've had the chance to get like 1 or 2 bottles of some of the Japanese, the Hibiki.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever actually seen a bottle of Nika that I was able to buy. Maybe I did, and I just walked by it and didn't get it. I've heard good things about it, like the Nika straight from the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard really good things. And I don't know, the Hibiki, I wasn't ready to pay the price that they wanted for it just to try it, not knowing, you know. So I am also going to sip on something new. In previous shows, I've done a couple of these that I've got behind me. This is the Traverse City Whiskey Company out of Michigan. A buddy of mine, last time he was up there, he picked up, it was a 3-pack. It was the bourbon, the rye, and then this one, all of which are barrel proof. But this one is straight bourbon whiskey infused with Montmorency cherries. I have no clue what kind of cherries those are. I know what maraschino cherries are, and that's about it. It's a 54.7 ABV, batch 001, bottle 196 out of 216. So
batch 1. That's awesome.
Yeah. My hope is that this has some similarities, we'll say. One of the best attributes to probably my favorite on the bar there, Stag Junior, is that dark fruit cherry note to it. My hope is that this has some resemblance.
In the bottle, just say it doesn't and text me so we can go buy a bunch.
Yeah. The bottle gives you a little bit of cough syrup.
That's not good.
But in the glass, it does not carry that. It does not. So I'll let this open up for a little bit, swirl it around a little bit, and I'll let you know when I take a sip what I think of it. I mean, it's not super strong on the cherry there, so I'm hoping it says it's infused, so I'm hoping it's not like cherry flavored.
Right.
We'll find out here in a minute or two.
All right. Let's get into some racing.
Yep. Take it away, sled god.
All right. Well, first off, there's really, just to preface everything leading into Spa, since everything kind of went haywire with the driver market, and there was like this blast of like 3 days where everything went crazy, nothing's happened. Nothing has officially happened.
It has been like radio silence.
Let's say that. Let's say that. Stuff has come out where we all think Ricardo is out, Piastri's in at Alpine. I mean, at McLaren, but nothing has been officially stated by McLaren. The only thing that leaked out was that Ricardo was told he's more than likely going to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
To which he responded, "Cool. Y'all still owe me 21 mil.
21 million. Yeah. Yep. And the rumor is that McLaren is working on trying to find him a seat for next year. Is what kind of the scuttlebutt.
Man, I don't see why he wouldn't just go straight back to Alpine.
I think that's pretty likely, but so something that hasn't really been talked about much, and I don't know if it really throws a wrench into the works, and we actually have not even talked about this. But there is a possibility that Mick Schumacher may not be at Haas next year. So Gunther has put any discussions, negotiations on hold.
Right.
Now, is that because he just wants to keep options open? Is that because he's waiting for Mick to prove himself? Or is that because I don't know, because he's just playing a game? Who knows? Nonetheless, it opens the door to a lot of speculation. So
it could be one of those things where, they openly put pressure on him earlier in the year and said, look, he needs to stop crashing a car and score some points.
And what did he do?
He stopped crashing a car, started driving the best that he's looked in his career.
Yeah.
And scored points in multiple races.
Yep.
So it could just be a tactic. He may have all intentions of re-signing Mick, and it may just be a tactic that he's trying.
So I
see how he responds to adversity.
I am 100% on board with that thought process. That's one of those things, right? As a manager, you have to learn. Every person takes a different management style, right? And the best managers learn how each of their employees need to be managed, and they adapt things to fit each of them. And yes, you're exactly right. Mick has said it himself that he thrives under pressure like that. However, there's a risk of that backfiring because, well, for one,
bro, what if Alpine snatches Mick?
Well, that's kind of where I'm going, right? So who's to say Mick isn't like, maybe I should start exploring my options. Yes, he's with the Ferrari Driver Academy, but there's, if they're not going to re-sign him, I believe Mattia has come out and said that Mick has not shown the potential that they kind of thought and hoped he would, and has kind of said
because they were hoping that he would be his dad, and he's not.
Yeah, I know, but kind of leading on to say that they don't have their sights set on Mick. Name aside, he's still part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. So the end goal is to develop him and get him into the top team, right? I mean,
I told you that when he came out of F2.
Yeah. Oh, I know. But, I think they're kind of rethinking that. So, yeah, there's the chance that he jumps into the Alpine driver program. There's also the fact that, and I don't know if it's anything more than what the statement actually is, right? Is there any meaning behind it? But Helmut Marko has even said he has a soft spot for Mick. there is also a unconfirmed seat in AlphaTauri next year.
Boom. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I like Mick at Haas. But I would like to see Mick in that environment and see how he does.
Yeah. Kind of out from the shadows of his dad. I mean, he's always going to have that with the name, but when you're in the Ferrari driver academy for a Ferrari team, you know, you're even more so in that shadow.
I wish everybody would just knock it off with the whole it's gonna be Charles and Mick. It's gonna be Charles, bro. That ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Yeah. At the
because at the rate that he progresses, I just can't see it, man. Like I don't know if he'll in the time it would take him to get to that level. I don't know if he'll still be in F1 because you don't get that kind of time at this level.
Right. Yeah, and
I mean, your name will help get you to F1. It's not going to keep you there.
Yeah. And I mean, look, just like everybody else, I would absolutely love to see it and love to see him succeed and thrive and become a world champion, you know, because, you know, we were such big fans of Michael.
It's a pipe dream, though.
Huh?
It's a pipe dream.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, just because of that, yeah, I would love to see it, but the reality is it's not looking like that's ever going to happen, to be honest. So, I mean,
you would have had like, honestly, dude, I don't know if I think you can look at these drivers' personalities, and if you look just over the years, right? Go back 20, 30, 40 years. These world champions, with the exception of maybe Jenson Button, these guys are absolute savages. And I'm not even talking about in the car. Just the way they are all the time. The way they interact with people, the way they just kind of dominate everything. It's a different breed, man. And you can almost tell, you know, I mean, look at, you know, Mika Hakkinen and Kimi are different because they're Finnish. That's just a whole different thing. But everybody else, man, from like 1990 to now, they're just killers.
Yeah.
Whether the helmet's on or off. You know, and Lewis has mellowed out, you know, because he's been around for like 15 years now, 16 years. But make no mistake, earlier on in his career, he was the same way. And you can almost look at a guy and be like, he's got it, don't got it, don't got it, don't got it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you look at somebody like Max, Charles, Lando kind of floats that line. Sometimes you see it and sometimes you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sold on him yet. I think maybe if you saw him in a car capable of living at the front, that attitude would change. Like you've seen,
I agree. Yeah,
you've kind of seen glimpses of it.
Yes.
When like last year at Monza, he was furious that Ricciardo won.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff that I think it takes. And I think because he knew he was faster and he was pissed that they were told not to race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's been times
I get it from
where
his point, and I also get it from, you know, from the pit wall's point of view. Like, bro, we got a 1-2 here. Don't F this up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely shown at times where he's got it, but then at times where he doesn't. And that killer instinct you're talking about, it's not an on-off thing. You know, it's not a hit or miss. It's a all the time. You know, Max
has been like that. Charles has been like that from day one, the time. When they were nobody in F1.
Yep. Yeah.
Same thing with Lewis. Fernando.
Mm-hmm. Shit, Fernando, like 68 and a half years old, he still got it.
Right.
By the way, sidebar, this shit's hot.
Got a little tussing over there?
It is hot, dude. And it's only 108 proof.
Really?
It's hot. It's not what I was hoping. It's not. Like, it's not overpowering with the cherry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I was hoping it wouldn't be like that. But yeah, it's not hitting the mark for me. It's gonna be a no from me, dog.
All right.
I mean, I'm still gonna drink it and not let it go to waste, but don't know I'll be having another pour.
Climb out of that rabbit hole because that's leading to a long convo.
Yeah.
First thing I want to jump into regarding Spa itself, which it's kind of twofold because it's going to be on display first and foremost at Spa, but it's something that could potentially affect the rest of the season or have zero effect on the rest of the season in terms of what's happening at the front. And that's should we call them regulations? Change in regulation regarding the floor?
Changes.
New way of measuring.
So I was doing some research on this earlier, trying to find some detail and some specifics because there's not a lot of detail out there regarding what is changing with the quote unquote flexi floor. I did eventually find like some numbers and some detail on what is happening with the floor. The bigger thing is that they now have their metric to be able to measure the porpoising.
So and let me stop you right there real quick before you go too far down. So nothing is said to change on the floor itself. Okay?
No, that's
there's a new floor flexibility test in which they're changing where and how many points they measure it at and they test it at.
Yes.
So
which that's right there though, that's the gray area that some of them exploited.
So that's the thing. But see, that's the thing. If you outline this parameter and says your floor cannot flex this much, but you say this is where we will be conducting the test, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. Hey,
if you say, hey, look, all you got to do is say, hey, the floor cannot flex more than X at any point, and we will be measuring we'll be measuring at random places when we do our test. Period. You can't do you have to make the floor consistent across.
Right. The way I see it, congratulations to those that figured out how to have it meet those parameters at those points and have it be a little more flexible in other points. One of the things that they're changing, and so part of it was a flex test. One of the other parameters that they measure on the floor is the thickness of it, because that floor also acts as, you know, the skid plate. They're allowed to put those titanium skid plates on it, if you will, or skid plates, or they're like some cylinder or something. You know, and they do measure where and how much the floor wears, which obviously is going to dictate your ride height, because if you're only allowed X amount of wear on the floor, because otherwise you set the car low as shit, you wear that floor down in a lap, and now it's super thin and it flexes, and you know you're gone, right? So that's the other reason why they do talk about a required thickness. But yes, there is certain measurement points, and the way some teams were doing it was, and I didn't understand all of it with the way that it was written, what I was reading, but they would find a way to like overlap pieces, or like with the skid blocks or something to that effect, where it was kind of exploiting a gray area. They found a way around it, but they still stayed within the parameters. They stayed within the rules. One of the things that they are changing now is the way they are measuring the thickness. And it's basically going to eliminate the teams that were doing that like overlap kind of thing to meet the specs. It's going to eliminate them being able to do that. You know, like there's certain holes that they have drilled in the floor that they measure thickness on, and you know, they will measure the periphery of that hole, and like 75% of the periphery of that hole has to meet the spec now, as opposed to, I didn't see what the number was before, but I guess it just wasn't as much. So there's a few different things happening. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things, man. There was all these complaints about it because they figured out how to maximize the rules. You know, and then you've got certain teams that didn't, and now they're bitching that it's not within the spirit of the rules. And that's what everything is nowadays, right? They're all talking about the spirit of the rules. I don't give a damn about the spirit of the rules. What do the rules say? The rules say this, you did this and managed to maximize it here. So congratulations, you have the faster car. Like, it is what it is. The rules are the rules, not this whole spirit of the rules. Because guess what? I guarantee you, your spirit of the rules and my spirit of the rules are two different spirits. And how is that a measurable thing that they can enforce?
That's the exact problem.
This whole spirit of the rule.
Yeah, 100%. That's the whole problem, is the fact that you have to think spirit of the rules when it should just be the rules.
The rules.
So, yeah, two comments on that. Number one, you know, Mercedes has been one of the most vocal teams in terms of crying about, not crying, but for lack of a better term, complaining about Red Bull and Ferrari's floors.
Crying.
And Toto has been adamant about it, and George Russell has been surprisingly vocal about it. I mean, like, surprisingly vocal. Like, anytime there's a microphone in his face, he's talking about it.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird
Russell
that a driver talks about that kind of technicalities in regards to another team. It's kind of strange.
George Russell has also become the driver's rep, or driver's rep to the FIA, or something of that nature. He has taken on.
That's irrelevant in terms of this, I feel like, because that has more to do, that doesn't really have anything to do with technical regulations. That's more or less
but all this kind of stems off of the porpoising and the safety concerns and the crying about the FIA needing to step in.
That has no weight because Ferrari was one of the worst porpoising cars and they were faster.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that.
I agree with you, but that's still
either
where the argument was coming from with them.
They have been complaining the most about it. Obviously, they've been on the back foot this year. But let's not forget the last 9 years where they were the absolute kings of finding the gray area in every set of regulations and having to fight every other team when they called them out.
Yep.
Or not really fight every other team, but they would literally find every gray area available within the regulations and exploit it. And now maybe they missed something for the first time in 9 years, and this is how they react to it, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
But did we all forget about DOS already?
Right.
I mean, you want to talk about the spirit of the rules.
Yeah.
How in the hell is that even close to living in the spirit of the rules?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, I can't quote the rule book, but essentially you cannot have a way to manipulate the angle of things while the car is in motion. That sounds about right. It's a easy way to put it, right?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
When you pulled the steering wheel, when you're going down the straightaway, it manipulated the angle, the camber of the wheels.
And manipulated the toe.
Right. But yeah.
Toe is this.
Right.
And that's how they got away with it, because they did not manipulate the camber.
So
because the camber falls that was that gray area was the camber fell into something more specific.
But it's still a mechanical movement where you're taking, instead of taking it like, it's hard to see on the screen, but which is why I was kind of doing it like that, from like this to like that, you're taking it from like this to like that. I don't know if you can see that right. But essentially you're manipulating something that is not supposed to be manipulated. And it created a huge benefit. And that's one of the probably, I don't know, I would say most controversial deals that we've seen in a while, or most extreme, like bending of the rules, living in the gray area that we've seen in quite a while.
Pretty much since the second brake pedal, or the
double diffuser.
The double diffuser, or
big, but
the
that
air
was
duct,
well within the rules.
The air duct, you saw Kimi blocking with his hand.
Yeah, but that was all. The double brake pedal was. Personally, I don't understand how that was an issue.
Well, I don't really think it is. I'm just saying, as far as like level of being controversial.
It wasn't controversial, the brake pedal. It was innovative.
It absolutely was.
Everybody got pissed off and tried to do it, and I believe it got outlawed because they called it safety concerns.
Yeah.
But that was ridiculous. That should have been allowed to stay.
Yeah.
Well, the double diffuser was super controversial because they didn't understand it initially. That showed up, and everybody looked at it and was like, holy shit. And then it became, they can't do that. They can't do that. Oh my God, we need to do this.
Yeah.
The DOS thing was like, everybody was like, what the hell? You can't do that. They're like, well, no, technically you can't do that, but we're going to let you run it this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have no sympathy for Mercedes
So
when it comes to that.
fast forward to the flexi floor, and oh, you can't do that. So we're going to outlaw it halfway through the season instead of let you run it all year. You know?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
it's just it's to me it's kind of chicken shit politicking by Toto. And look, Mercedes says it's going to bring them back to them and it's going to tighten up the front. Red Bull and Ferrari say, bro, it's not going to affect us. We're going to stay right where we are.
Ferrari did actually say that it. I forgot exactly how they worded it, but they did kind of admit to
They said
a slight notion of it's not. I don't think they even admitted like it's going to hamper performance. It was just more of like it's a hurdle to get over, something
what
like that.
in a nutshell, what they said is it's going to change the way we run the car, but it's not going to affect performance.
Right. Yes.
Like we're going to have to change some things to like, and that's all in regard to they're not admitting that they have a flexi floor when they're talking about their statement was in regards to the level of bouncing that's acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they were saying. It's going to change the way that they have to run the car, but it will not affect performance.
Yeah.
They in no way admit it to breaking rules and creating a flexi floor.
Yeah, no, they did not. They did not. Which, and yeah, I mean, on the new metric that they have to measure the porpoising and all, dude, I mean, I think that's all bullshit too, because yeah, look how much, like you said, look how much porpoising Ferrari had, and they were the fastest car out there. And dude, Charles, it was on the Checkered Flag podcast with Charles Leclerc. Charles said, he was like, oh yeah, it was bad, but it didn't bother me. And then you've got
he essentially said that he's not affected by that at all.
Yeah.
On that podcast, which you need to go check. Anybody that hasn't heard it, y'all need to check it out because it's an awesome interview. And he's so candid and he's so just kind of like doesn't really hold back, which is kind of how he is in general. But it was an awesome, awesome interview.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they had it terribly bad. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not really fazed by it. And then you've got Mercedes that has it bad as well. And, the car's undrivable and it's unsafe. So
maybe your car's unsafe and you should dial it back.
Yeah. Maybe raise the car and it won't be unsafe. And, but what do I know?
I have a huge problem with them doing this in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to address something in the off season and it's collectively agreed on by the teams, that's fine.
Yeah.
But in the middle of the season, in the first true year of the cost cap is just stupid. Yep. It's counterintuitive to everything that you've been saying for the last year and a half with regards to these cost caps.
Yeah. Yeah. And so kind of branching from those new regulations that were released starting in Spa, at this pretty much the same time, there were some things solidified in regulations, or I don't know if regulations is the right word, but things were solidified for 2026. Which I just want to note that with those things that were noted as going to be taking effect at that point with the engines and whatnot, that has brought back Porsche. So Porsche will be back involved in F1 in 26.
Yeah, we talked about that last podcast.
We talked about the possibility.
No, I mean,
but
it's going to happen. It's still not. I still don't think anything's signed, is it? Has it been made officially official? Which I don't think. I think it's still kind of in the same place. Like, it's going to happen. It's just not, they still got a couple
I think it might have been
T's to dot and I's to
confirmed.
cross.
Yeah, I think it might have been confirmed.
Either way, it's going to happen. And I think it's awesome. And let's get something. Let's clarify something too.
Because they are set to take a 50% stake in Red Bull's F1 operation.
Yeah, set to take. So it hasn't been done yet. But either way, the cool thing is about how Red Bull did this. It's so freaking such an awesome move because they had Honda. Everything they built with Honda was great. Then Honda says, hey, in typical Honda fashion, hey, we're out of F1.
Yeah, we're tired of this. We're done. To
which Red Bull says, okay, that sucks, but whatever. We probably kind of expected this. We're gonna buy your production of the engines. We're gonna call it Red Bull Powertrains, and we're gonna continue doing this ourselves. Which they kind of are, but they kind of aren't. Honda's still pretty much operating that whole deal.
Yeah,
they aren't. I forget all the exact things about it, but essentially Honda is still doing the engine work and all. But
it's basically they just took over. They took over the same personnel. Like most of the personnel came with it and all that.
Right,
it's just
right.
rebranded is all it is.
Exactly. But that means they own it.
Yeah.
And they own the IP as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is when Porsche comes along, here's all this stuff. This is the engine you will start with, not go build your own deal, which I know it's going to be new regulations, but it's still an awesome baseline.
Oh, yeah.
To take and just modify for the new deals. Because like a lot of it's not like what in 13 to 14 when we went from naturally aspirated V8s to hybrid system V6s. It's not that drastic of a change.
Right.
Like the whole concept of the engine is essentially the same, or the power unit is essentially the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's only stuff like getting rid of the MGUH and changing the way the MGUK is done.
It's going to produce more power.
I might have the MGU letters backwards. It might be getting rid of the other. I don't remember, but
whatever.
Some alternative fuel, more sustainable fuel source. It's all stuff like that. But yes, you're right. The ICE, that the actual power plant is more or less staying the same.
Yes. The concept of the engine is roughly the same.
Yeah. So it's still going to be a hybrid turbocharged V6.
Now, since Honda does not own that anymore, Red Bull owns it. You can serve that up on a silver platter to Porsche and say, here you go, to where you're not starting from scratch. You're not starting behind the eight ball to everybody else. And you've got guys that have been working on it and developing it this whole time. So it's really a perfect situation. And it's not a situation where it's like, here we go again, Red Bull switching engines again.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you're just essentially you're just picking up.
You're continuing
the backing of freaking Porsche Motorsports. Like,
right.
What more could you want?
Like your guys are going to just integrate with Porsche's guys, and then you're going to take that baby and continue to grow it.
Yeah, I think.
And you're going to slap the Porsche logo on it, and everybody's going to love it.
Yep.
Because a Porsche logo looks way better than a Honda logo.
Whoa.
I know, don't even act like you wouldn't rather have a Porsche race car, all right?
Whoa. I wouldn't. I can't afford the upkeep on that.
You could have on my old 944.
That's not real. Like, dude, look, you take a 944 to a Porsche event, like a PCA, Porsche Club America event, in a 944, and like you get laughed out of there. They don't even consider that a Porsche.
You don't go to a Porsche event with a 944. You go to regular.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you go to regular SCCA events like you do.
It's really not even a Porsche. I mean, it is.
It's a Porsche. All right.
It is a Porsche. It still comes from Stuttgart, but
it was beautiful. The frame was slightly cracked, but it was beautiful.
Yeah. It was in pristine condition, except for that slightly cracked frame.
And the bumper that we had to rip off of it.
Yeah.
But everything else was good. All right. They wouldn't give it a plate, but but no, for real. I mean, it's a much more. It's going to bring a lot more notoriety to the team, and I think it's awesome.
Oh yeah, well, and it brings a lot more resources. You know, Porsche Motorsports is no little division. I mean,
and you're talking about there's no longer this culture divide. And, you know, we've all heard the stories of how difficult Honda, or not even necessarily Honda, but Honda, Toyota, like the Japanese way of business is to working with the Europeans. There's story after story of how it just doesn't jive.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Europeans have their way of doing things, and the Japanese have their way of doing things. Neither one of them's wrong. They're just different.
They're just very
and when
different.
you try and mix them, usually it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And in Red Bull's case, it worked. They just didn't stick around long enough to really ride this wave of success.
Yep.
Which is a shame, because Honda has kind of had a bad rap since the early 90s, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, I mean, they came back in. They came back in and they built up this team in the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s. You know, they were on. They were in for a while with a few different teams, and then they took over a team. They took over BAR, became a Honda factory team, ran it right up to the point where they were getting really good and having success. Pulled out, which that was more understandable because of the world financial crisis, but pulled out, and then their team goes and dominates the championship the next year.
Yep.
Be it with a Mercedes engine, but
yeah, I mean, there's that.
But it was their car,
right?
Because it was a Honda factory team.
Yep.
But all right. We're getting way out of line here, way off topic.
What else is new?
Let's tie this back in to Spa. And let's kind of, just sitting on our notes here, but I want to go off of what we've seen so far. All we can do is speculate about what's going to happen with the floors. None of us have any freaking clue. That's going to have to be a reaction podcast topic, because all we can do is look at what we've seen so far and assume that Red Bull and Ferrari are on top of it. And because in terms of performance this year, both of them have been in spades.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, strictly talking performance of the cars, this should be an absolute battle. And everybody say their prayers at night or whatever you got to do to hope that Ferrari's strategy department just gets it halfway freaking right.
Yeah.
And both of the cars have good reliability, which Ferrari is supposed to have the upgraded power units for Spa with all of the long-term reliability fixes.
Reliability fixes, yep.
From earlier in the year, which they were saying should allow them to run their engines closer to their maximum potential than they have been able to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cheers to this right here. Let's hope and pray that happens.
Yep.
Because we just want to see a freaking battle, man. We've been so close. We've had some good ones this year. Don't get me wrong.
And what better place to see that than Spa?
Right? To see Charles and Max
and
freaking nose to tail.
Not to mention
through Rouge and Radion and all.
Not to mention how much that would just solidify that Spa needs to stay on the map.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and kind of just briefly going back to that, you know, the something I was reading earlier that the talks between F1 and like the promoters and the track and all that, they have said how all the rumors and speculation of Spa disappearing has made the negotiations that much harder. So if this race brings just a killer battle at the front between Max and Charles, that would be so key for those negotiations to get Spa a contract for next year. So here's to hoping that. Now, on that note of praying for reliability, so we are thinking that Ferrari should have their reliability fixed. However, do you think we will see any reliability issues? Well, looks like we lost Frank for a second. All right. So, well, I was going to ask him a question, and looks like I'll just have to hold that question until he gets back. So the thought is, oh, there we go. You're back. All right. Man, that was perfect timing.
Bro, I have no idea what happened.
So while you were away, I was in the process of posing a question to you, and I was going to answer for myself while we were waiting for you. But since you're back on the topic of hoping that Ferrari has their reliability issues resolved, do you think that we will see reliability play a role in anybody else, whether it be Red Bull or somebody that we have yet to see reliability issues from?
So at this point, I don't think you'll see it from anybody at the front. I think, I don't know, man. It's hard to say because Red Bull and Ferrari were kind of the ones that had new things to tackle this year. Mm-hmm. Mercedes has been on top of their engine. I don't think you're going to see reliability issues with them. I wouldn't expect that at all.
Well, the only question that I have though regarding Mercedes reliability, and we have no reason to believe otherwise, but the thought of they have kind of gotten a taste of being back up there at the front, given yes, it was different situation. It wasn't just on raw pace the times they were up there. Nonetheless, though, they got that taste again, and
Look,
with
time out.
them thinking that the floor is going to level the field, do you think that will kind of entice them into maybe turning their engines up a little bit more and maybe introducing reliability issues that we hadn't previously seen from them?
I don't think that's the issue. I think they got passed up in terms of engine performance, which is it's bad for them, but it's nothing to, it took everybody, 9 years to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's not a slide to them. It's just that, inevitably it was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they can, with the bouncing regulations, if they coming into effect, if they just crank those cars wide open, or even more so than they have been,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how that doesn't hurt them rather than, or at least maybe not hurt them, but complicate things more.
It could. I could
Maybe
I could see.
maybe it won't, but obviously, I don't know, man. Why wouldn't they have been doing? Why wouldn't they have done that yet if they were capable of doing it and being reliable? And let's just be clear about something when it comes to their pace and they're living at the front and all this and a 3-horse race now. You were on pole and Max won from 10th. Where do you think you are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For real.
And look, we've gone into this, and we've gone in depth as to how they are really not at the front. Pace wise, they are still off. Them being up there was completely just situational on what was happening with everybody else. It wasn't that they found a bunch of pace and all that, and we've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now Spa, that's going to be, Mercedes is talking about this whole new regulation with the floors and the bouncing and all that. It's going to bring them back into the mix. Red Bull and Ferrari don't believe so. So Spa is going to be the tell-all as
Mm-hmm.
to, if that's the case or not, is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. We'll see. It's going to be, I'm very excited to see, but what happens, but either way, it's freaking Spa. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And look,
for sure.
if it is a 3-horse race now, great. It's still kind of pissing me off about the way that it became that.
Mm-hmm.
But if the racing's great and we got what we've been asking for, and that's just, a 3 to 4, a shot of 3 to 4 different teams to compete every week, that's awesome. That's all. Yeah. That's good for everybody in mm-hmm. terms of spectators.
Right.
And in terms of not necessarily this year, but in terms of a full year championship, that's good for everybody, because what it does is it doesn't make each race as important, because teams are constantly taking points off of each other, and the points get spread out over more drivers opposed to Charles or Max.
Yep.
So, having an A, D, and F isn't nearly as detrimental as it would be in what we've seen the first half of this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, to be honest, I don't see any. I would imagine that Ferrari, with this significant reliability upgrade to their power unit, has fixed their issues. Red Bull looks to be very much on top of their engine after their woes early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And Mercedes, we know, has a very reliable engine.
Yep.
The only one that really leaves is Renault, but they've had some issues so far. Like, I want to say their drivers are pretty deep into their allocations, but they're the only team that use it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, Ferrari or Mercedes where, a third of the grid's using your power unit.
Right. Yeah.
And you're going to see these issues that have major impacts on points.
Yep. Nor are you getting the additional research
Exactly.
and data from these other teams, other cars,
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of Alpine and that part of the field, well, the midfield, where are you in the thought of, or in the topic of the midfield? Over the summer break, and given what we know thus far, what do you think we'll see from the midfield the second half of the season?
In terms of what?
In terms of performance, in terms of who's going to shine. Is it going to continue the way we've seen it thus far? Is somebody going to come out on this back half stronger and make up some ground?
So I think you're going to see Lando Norris start to, I guess, pull some ground on the Alpines.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think all this stuff that's happened in the last 3 weeks is going to bode well for Danny Rick. I don't think he's the kind of driver that responds well to things like this.
It's definitely not. And that's kind of my exact thought. I think for McLaren and Alpine, I think it's gonna reflect on both of them.
But
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a different, I don't know if I want to say a different pace. I think we may see a little bit of a difference in both of those teams, just given all the turmoil within those teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
That has to reflect on the weekend performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we will absolutely see that come through. And given that, I think I don't know that there's one team in particular in the midfield that I feel like we're going to see come out strong here at Spa and making a push in the back half. We very well could. I just don't really have an inclination to pick one over the other. But I do think we are going to see McLaren and Alpine both struggle a little bit, given everything that's happening internally in both of those teams.
So I think I agree, but I think you're going to see it for very, very different reasons in each team. if I don't think this is going to motivate Ricardo or allow him to keep working and developing with the team to get better and figure this car out.
Yeah, absolutely not.
However, for Fernando, I think we might start to see shades, and I really hope so. I miss old Fernando.
You want that old Fernando back?
I miss old Fernando. Look,
Bring
I
back the
always thought,
Savage.
look, in terms of him out of the car, I always thought he was an asshole. But that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're that level of driver. Like, yeah, maybe I wouldn't want to go drink a beer with him, but still doesn't mean I don't want you on my team if I'm running an F1 team because you're an absolute killer.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't seen that side of him. You know, we keep alluding to this. We haven't seen that side of him since he's been back. And I think he's just been playing like this kind of mentor role in Alpine. And I think now he feels burned. And I don't think it's going to be good for Mr. Esteban.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think that it may lend itself to some awesome racing between him and Lando.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be some things where maybe you see him kind of put Ocon in his place. Pull some Wile E. Coyote tricks.
Yeah.
Because some of the things that Ocon has done this year, I truly believe that if it wasn't done to his teammate, he'd have gotten penalties for just about all of them.
Probably so. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I believe Fernando's done with that.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that it's a reason why that he is the reason why that he left, but part of the reason why. But I think the fact that the team is allowing these shenanigans to continue throughout the whole year definitely is a piece of the puzzle.
Completely agree. And I think, some of the issues, there was a multitude of them that we saw where Esteban pulled some shit and it really pissed off Fernando.
Mm-hmm.
I think regardless of the fact that Fernando decided to leave, let's play the if game and say Fernando decided to stay. I think you still may see some of that old Fernando come through because I think after Hungary, I think he was kind of just fed up with Esteban.
Yeah.
And was about ready to put him in his place, regardless if he was leaving or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was coming down the pipe.
Definitely alluded to that.
Mm-hmm.
In the car?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're right. It might come out. It might not. I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here for it. I hope it does.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about entertainment?
Right.
Yeah. That'll definitely give us something to talk about.
No doubt. But look, man, aside from that, I think I got all kind of wire problems over here. I think, I know I was just kind of being hard on Mick, but a few minutes ago, but he has shown some serious progress, we'll call it, over the last 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect that to continue and to maybe see him, because I think Haas's car, I think, is going to be good at some of these tracks coming up.
Yeah.
So I would expect to see him being a lot more competitive. I think he's my kind of dark horse to start standing out a little more, and not even necessarily like making like living in a place where the car has no business, but just making serious leaps from where he started the season and
Yeah.
where he was kind of living at in the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's 100% accurate. Uh, just given the progress that we've seen thus far, and like we talked about, the pressure on him and how he responds to it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see that. And I think the bigger thing is just seeing more consistency of him putting the car where the car belongs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the ticket, is just him consistently getting the car where it belongs on the grid, and him consistently being there with K-Mag.
Yeah.
I think that's really what we're looking for. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think we're gonna see him putting it, something crazy, putting it top 5, and doing something crazy with the car. I think that's a bit of a
Stretch.
far-fetched hope. I think we'll just see him step his game up a little bit and really just kind of hone his skills, hone himself in, and be a little more consistent.
Yes, I agree.
Oh, little Eagle Rare there.
Yeah, buddy.
It's a fresh one.
It is. I actually have 2 fresh ones, which is why I'm cracking it open. I had one with like that much left, and then I had a new one. I was like, I'm gonna hold off until I can get my hands on another one, because this is one of those bottles that when I get in it, I get in it.
Yeah, dude, it's such an easy
It's so
drinker.
good. It's so good, bro.
It really is.
And dude, like, you find this bottle for retail, if I can get it so much open. You find this bottle for retail, you're looking at $30 to $35.
Yeah, for a 10-year
Buffalo Trace.
Yep. Oh, dude, I mean, for a good while, I went hard on some Eagle Rare.
This is where they freaking skimp on the damn thing to open.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you got to get that little tab picked out of there.
You need chick nails to open this thing.
There you go. Give it a good twist.
I'm just gonna rip it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, for a while too, like when I was getting into the Eagle Rare a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man,
I remember that.
I had no problem finding them. Like, I love Eagle Rare. Like, and that was a little earlier in my bourbon venture.
Mm-hmm.
I've discovered some other things that I like and whatnot, but by no means have I lost my love for Eagle Rare. But it's like, man, I actually, for the longest time, dude, I was able to keep like 2 and 3 backup bottles. Like, I had
you had one of them big ass ones too, didn't you?
No, I never got one of the 175s.
Yeah.
No. I want to say I had one of the 375s. Yeah. I had one of the little ones. I've never been able to find one of the big ones.
So I wanted to have this little fresh crack here for a 2-part question that I want to finish up the episode with.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of go hand in hand with each other. And it involves Ferrari. Because even though the driver's title is pretty much all but wrapped up, barring some kind of a
huge
rash of
reliability issues.
Not even that, not even just reliability, but
well, it would take something like
you
that.
would need a run of things to happen with Max where he's finishing outside the podium multiple times and Charles winning every time that happens. And that it's not mathematically done. And to be perfectly honest, if Ferrari could get their goddamn strategy and together, the reliability has been good on Charles's side, especially with these upgrades and all. They've been the fastest car since essentially Barcelona.
Yeah.
Was Barcelona before Monaco? Or after? I don't know. Whatever. Around there. They've been the fastest car for quite a while here.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So if they could get their head out of their ass, they have the potential to win everywhere.
Yeah.
Because since their latest upgrades, their car is very good and no longer nearly as susceptible on these long straights.
Right. And
which is where Red Bull owned them before.
Interject something on the Ferrari strategy topic real quick. Previously this, what I'm about to say has me a bit more inclined to believe that they will be better moving forward. So, we always saw like after races, after the stuff would happen, when they would talk to Mattia, he never, and I know we even talked about this on here, he never really wanted to admit that there was any kind of issue. He kind of played it all as like, oh, that was the plan. And, the plan went just how we wanted it to. And he kind of just, put on the good face, put on the, on the party line role. And a lot of us, me in particular, kind of had a bit of an issue with that. It's just like, look, just admit, you don't have to point fingers. You don't have to say, oh, it's this person's fault. But you can admit that as a whole, you struggled or you missed the mark, whatever. Like, we respect that. We don't take issue with the fact that you're calling somebody out and throwing somebody under the bus. Nonetheless, that's kind of what was done. But going back to what we were talking about, Leclerc's interview on the Checkered Flag podcast, he was asked about strategy and that department and all. And he did say, he's like, look, we know it is an issue. We know that mistakes have been made. So that kind of solidifies the fact that Mattia is just putting on a good face in front of the cameras. But internally, they do know there are problems that they need to address. Yeah. So with that being said, I am a little bit more inclined to believe that coming off a summer break, they'll have, whether they put somebody, which we haven't seen anything released. I don't know how public that would have been made for just the strategy department. Probably pretty big given how the strategy department has performed. But we haven't seen anything where they've done some big overhaul of the department. Whether they've changed personnel or just had a come to Jesus meeting with some of the strategy, department, the strategists, and said like, look, you need to get your shit together. Who knows how they went about it, but I really do think we're going to see them come out stronger. I do.
I agree. For the reason that, look, Max is essentially the 2022 world champion and back-to-back champion. However, the constructor's title even though the points gap is more than the driver's gap, it is a much more
It's much
what's the
more
word?
attainable.
Much more volatile gap than the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, points are much easier to make up constructors wise if you are if you're on your shit and other teams faltering.
Right.
And by another team faltering, what I mean is, yeah, Max is on his game, but
What you
Checo
mean
is
is one
falling
driver
back.
in particular.
Checo is falling backwards
Mm-hmm.
pretty much since Monaco,
Yeah.
since he won. And they kind of turned the development of the car in a certain direction to help Max out. Well, not to help Max, but I mean, let's be real. Checo's not winning a world championship anytime soon.
Right.
This is a Max Bull Racing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to cater that car to him.
Yep.
And I think they had a good starting point, and you saw Checo kind of shining in it. But as they start to hone it in and really dial it in and develop it, it's going to go towards Max, and it's going to go to what he likes because he's the man. And unfortunately for them and for Checo, it's pulling it away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of seems like it's the same thing as Ricardo. Like there's nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, I mean, the car is just not suiting his style. The direction it's going is the opposite. It's almost the identical thing. The car just does not suit his driving style, and
they're at a point in
he's
their career where
struggling
they
to
can't
adapt.
relearn it.
Yeah, and he's struggling to adapt his style to fit the car.
Yeah.
Which
If
means
you've
that
got if you're Ferrari and you have, you know, we've seen Carlos really coming to grips with this car and being much more competitive and ascending throughout the course of the season versus Checo's descending.
Yep.
And Charles has been on top of it from the jump. You know, yeah, Charles made a couple mistakes. Carlos made a couple mistakes. But so what? They're fast. Though I feel like the further we go, the more those are going to come to an end.
Yeah.
And this championship is far from over in terms of the constructors' standpoint.
Agreed.
If you have Charles win, if you had, you know, Ferrari 1 3s, 2 3s, 2 4s, 1 4s, whatever it may be, and Mercedes is getting closer and getting in there because to me, it seems like Mercedes has caught Checo on pace.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't caught Max, Charles, and Carlos if something doesn't go wrong for them. But they've caught Checo.
Yes.
So that throws another wrench into it where even though you're faster than the rest of them, now Mercedes, you're no longer the fourth fastest car on the grid. You could
be the sixth.
You could be the sixth.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you make a mistake, you could be even lower than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as the constructors is concerned, yeah, you take a 1 and 6 and take Ferrari at a 2 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 4 over the duration of the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna amount to it being pretty close, if not a good chance to take over the constructors.
Yeah.
And look, we all know, the drivers want that drivers world champion title. But as far as the teams are concerned, and for all intents and purposes, the constructors is what matters. That's
Dude,
what gets you the money,
it would
and
be massive for, even if Max wins the drivers, it would be huge for Ferrari
yes.
if they were able to pull off the constructors.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's where the money is.
I don't even mean from a money standpoint, because let's be real, money is not an issue at Ferrari or Red Bull or Mercedes.
No, it's not. It's not.
So
valid. Yeah.
I'm talking about just from a mental standpoint of everybody in that team, all the adversity that they had throughout this year. If they could pull it together in the back, I mean, we keep saying the back half, but just because of the break, but
yeah,
the second part of this season, and just figure, make these adjustments, figure these things out, make these corrections, and essentially steal that double world title from Red Bull, I think that would set them on a whole different trajectory. Or even if they don't, let's be real. Even if they don't, let's say they make an awesome run at it, but still fall short by a few points, and it's razor thin at the end, I still feel like that sets them on a whole nother trajectory for the next few years.
It absolutely does.
The back half of this season is going to have massive implications on the next year, maybe two, in Ferrari.
Yes.
Because if they continue to fall on their face, I don't know what that does in terms of your star driver, Charles Leclerc. I don't know what that does in terms of your second driver, who is really getting better and better and better, and may be able, he's showing flashes of being able to live at that level. And like we've talked about many times on here, I don't know if, like, him being at the front, at a car in the front, this is his first year there. So that he's behind the curve in terms of competing with Max and Charles. And Charles is behind the curve to Max. So maybe by next year, Carlos is right there as well.
Yeah.
But if Ferrari gets it right on the second part of this season, they keep learning, they keep having great results, and the things they do are being rewarded, carries into next year with a massively positive effect.
Yes.
If the team keeps screwing them over and costing them points through no fault of their own, completely out of their control, that's going to have a pretty opposite effect on them. And maybe not off the jump next year, but if nothing changes, if nothing's addressed, I mean, how as a driver can you have faith in that? And can you have, like, how can you not have doubts in your in your team?
Well, and I mean that's it, man. Like with Leclerc, we know, Ferrari is like, that is it, right? Like that is it for him. That is all he has ever dreamed about. That is all he has ever wanted. Being a Monegasque driver with, his godfather being with Ferrari, and just where he is now, like dream come true, life goals achieved. That's great. That's
Not.
awesome. But
It's not.
the
His
other
life
part
goal was
the
to win
other
a world
part of it
championship.
is he wants to be a world champion, and he knows that he is capable of it. So yeah, the rest of it, like, they cannot take that for granted. If they cannot deliver the strategy for it, like, they've delivered the car. Yes, there's reliability issues,
Yeah, that'll be
but
fixed.
that'll work itself out. It supposedly has already worked itself out. We'll see moving forward. But as far as like the strategy and just the whole operation goes, if they cannot deliver the opportunity for him to do that, then at a certain point, he is gonna be at a crossroads of, do I give up my? He's gonna be having that internal debate of, do I give up what I've always wanted to be a Ferrari driver and win a world championship with Ferrari to go somewhere where I can actually win that world championship? So,
Right.
you know, let's just hope that they don't take that for granted and throw something away. I sure hope, for Charles's sake, that they really have buckled down and got something figured out.
And for Ferrari's sake, because you can't take the chance of
Yeah,
losing a talent like that over stupid bullshit and your inability to realize what's actually going on.
right, right.
I'm looking at some news right now that's just popping up. Antonio Giovinazzi will run FP1 sessions with Haas
Yeah, I saw
at the
that.
Italian and USGP.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw in doing some reading on the possibility of Mick not being there. There was also in that article was the potentials that could take that seat, and Schwartzman is one of them, and he's part of the Ferrari Driver Academy,
Mm-hmm.
and then Giovinazzi as well. Obviously, former F1 driver, currently Formula E driver. And I did see that Giovinazzi's supposed to run FP1. So, yeah, man, I don't know what to think on that whole thing. I really don't.
I don't know, man. It almost seems like it kind of does seem like Haas is just very much keeping their options open.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing with Giovinazzi. Like, I get it in terms of the practice, but he's not. We know what he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's very talented, but he's massively inconsistent.
Yeah.
So, in terms of your seat, like, I don't think Mick has anything to worry about on that department. Like, if it's me, I'm taking Mick over Giovinazzi just
Right.
from the consistency basis. Like, Antonio he's delivered some incredible laps, but that's about it.
Yep.
I can't. That's what we kind of always said about him was, bro, just put together like one complete weekend.
Give us a whole weekend.
Like, give us two in a row, like just 2 weekends in a row, just to show like that there's something there that can be built upon, because we see the flashes
Mm-hmm.
of it, but we just don't see there's been zero consistency, man.
Right. Yep. Yep.
But look, I'm still super stoked for the back half of this season, because I think, like I said, the drivers is what it is. More than I'm not a betting dude for the most part, but if there was ever something to bet on, it was Max winning the world championship from this point. The constructors, I think, has the potential to be an absolute dogfight till the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one of those situations where I think Ferrari can take chunks of points out of Red Bull. Even if Max is winning, Ferrari can still take chunks of points out of Red Bull in terms of the constructors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a matter of, can Checo pull it together? Because it seems like every race he's losing it a little bit more. And I don't know if that's just happenstance by the track or the development is going that far away from what he likes or what. But, you know, if it continues at this pace, Ferrari, you know, even if they don't win another race, can probably take it.
Yeah.
If it continues at that pace.
Right.
You know, if Checo can't really pull it together and find some middle ground on this car and find some setups that he likes that feel good to him and feel right, where he's able to push it.
Yep.
So
it's going to be interesting. And so with that, predictions. Let's hear it. What are you thinking?
You go first. Honestly, I hadn't put any thought into it yet.
I'm thinking that Ferrari's coming out swinging. And we're going to see Charles, Max, Carlos. I think we're going to get that battle that we've been wanting out of Charles and Max, and I think Leclerc is going to get it.
I'm going to go Max, Charles, Carlos. I think Mercedes is going to have a rough weekend, and I think the Alpines may be able to give them some problems. I mean, the first third of this lap is blazing fast, and that's been their Achilles heel.
Yep,
all year.
Yeah. So you're thinking they're going to be too tied up with pressure from the back to focus on what's in front of them?
No, I don't think they're going to have the capabilities of focusing on what's in front of them because they're not going to be able to see it.
I don't disagree.
I mean, you look at the high-speed tracks, man, they have not been – that's been their problem.
Yeah.
You know, so it's to be seen if they've actually solved the porpoising problem or if it's just been a benefit of some of these smoother tracks and maybe less high-speed circuits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean – I don't think it's going to be – I don't think Spa or Monza – I don't think the next few races are going to be great for them at all.
It doesn't look that way just from what we have seen thus far.
Zandvoort, I got to go look – I need to go look more in depth on it, but that's in between Spa and Monza. But Spa and Monza for sure is definitely not – their strong suit. I mean, Monza is like if you could design a circuit to not fit their car. It's long straights, high speed, and slow corner exits, with the exception of like the Curva Grande.
Oh, Curva Grande, exit of Parabolica. I mean, exit of Ascari. And then
but Ascari is
it's slow entry.
It's a combo of left, right, left. So the exit you're getting on the power pretty hard, for that third turn, but the two before that are low speed.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
what I'm saying though. It's the faster exits, you know, yeah. It's
let's see. You got the Curva Grande, you got the first chicane, second chicane is not good. Curva Grande,
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay at.
I mean, you
And then
go
you've
into
got
Lesmo 1 and 2. I mean, they're
yeah, the Lesmos are not going to be great
no,
for them. They're not high speed, but they're
not low speed either.
not low speed either. But they're
And then Lesmo 2
they're aggressive enough turns where their rear stability issues are going to be a problem, I think,
yeah.
unless
Well,
they've
I
got
mean,
a handle
Lesmo
on it.
2 leads on to a decent little run, a decent straight down to Ascari. So,
Right.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll have a whole Monza preview podcast to talk about that.
No, we won't. It'll
Actually,
be in
no, we won't
conjunction with Zandvoort.
It's going to be back
review.
to back. It'll be in with Zandvoort. So, as far as Spa goes, you got anything else?
Can't freaking wait.
Yeah, I'm excited. Glad we're finally back. God, that felt like a freaking eternity.
Man, it did. That was a brutal break.
Yeah, 3 weeks. That's unacceptable.
Oof, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, I do get it. The way these cats travel.
Oh, God,
it's just
yeah.
brutal for a fan of the sport.
Yeah. I mean, you take us, you take us every other week and then you slam us with back to back to back, and then you just leave us hanging for 3 weeks with nothing.
Just disappear. Don't even text us.
Right? Just completely ghost us. So, all right. Let's put this one to bed. So I will end us with a quote here, and it's kind of it's two separate quotes, and I'm gonna just kind of combine into one. Same person. There were some lines in between the two, but we're gonna just kind of piece it together. The truth is, the highs you get are just so high because so much goes into it. I believe I still thrive off of it because I still believe I belong and can do it. And that is the one that has been the most talked about during this 3-week silly season, Mr. Danny Ricciardo. So he's still, he's still all in. He still believes that he's got it and he still wants to be here. So for his sake, that's a very good thing, right? He's not feeling like he's lost it. His performance may or may not say otherwise, but we've gone into that. The car doesn't really suit his style as well, and there's a whole lot of other things. But nonetheless, his heart's still in it. He still believes he's got it. So, for his sake, I hope it works out to where he's happy and can keep racing. I'm perfectly fine with seeing Danny Rick still on the grid. And hopefully we can get some damn answers soon because we're dying to know what's actually going to happen.
Bro, once they show up to Spa, these reporters are going to be on them like a freaking Wolverine on a waffle, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's going to be something slipping. They're going to be asking every person that's got a legit team shirt on questions.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to slip.
Yeah. Yeah. There will be something after the race, no doubt. No doubt.
I think it'll come out during. I think Friday.
Think it'll be that quick?
Friday, we're going to have some answers. It may not be confirmed, but
yeah,
might be officially unofficial.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Or unofficially official.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yep. Either way, yeah. At some point, yeah, we're gonna get something.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll have something to talk about next time then.
That's right.
Because it's not like we won't have anything else to talk about and babble on about for 2 hours.
Yeah, we can go for another 2.
Yeah. All right. That's going to wrap this one up. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. If you're catching this on the podcast, go find us on YouTube. Follow us on the live stream. Join in. Comment. Join in the conversation. Find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Give us a follow and keep up with us. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you want to see, and we'll try to build this thing and grow this thing and get some more interactive stuff going here and more open conversations and see what other rabbit holes we can find.
Word.
So appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and we will see you on the next one.
Later.